Hello everybody, Steven here with Cardboard Coalition, and today I figured I would bring you a how to play of Fall of the Mountain King. This is from Burnt Island Games. This is for ages 14 plus, 1 to 5 players, and it's 30 minutes. It might be a little hard to tell, but it says 30 minutes per hammer, so 30 minutes per player. Now this is the Kickstarter exclusive edition, so there are some things that are a little different. I'll see if I can find, there it is, and show you guys while I'm talking about some of the things that are a little different. All right, let's set that there. So first off, we might want to talk about the board and understanding the board before we get into setup. So you have a player count up here. It plays up to 5 players. We have it set for 2 to 3, mostly because this takes up a lot of room. So I had just about enough room to put 2 players down here. All right, and keep in mind, this is just the best way to fit it in camera, how I have the player set up. This is the main board, and then players can set up kind of wherever they want. All right, so let's go ahead and look at some of this stuff. So we have some symbols around the board, right? If you guys can see these symbols, those are swarm symbols, or swarm points. We also have, it looks like these little circles. These are gates. Some areas have 1, some of them have 2, like over here and right here. Those are considered gates. A whole color is considered a domain. So green, this is green's domain, blue, gray, brown, or orange, brown, yellow, purple, right? Those are considered domains. Now these smaller sections that you can see built in here, these are what are considered caverns. Right here we have our clan symbols. Each one has its little clan symbol in it, so you know which clan that domain is connected to. The other thing that you want to look at is you have these right here are great halls, and we got an amount of points that great hall's worth, right? And then the last thing, and you can't see it because they're covered right now, is you have layer spots. And there's matching symbols. And it might be a little hard for you guys to see from up there, but this one has kind of a triangle with a plus in it. And there's 2 of each symbol on the board. So there's 1 here, and blue's obviously set up over there. That's just kind of the basic understanding of the board. So as we go through setup, it'll be kind of easier to follow through. So let's go ahead and jump into this. So let's go ahead and get the setup. Put the board out. We got that, right? We shuffle the Ancestry cards. Now the Ancestry cards are these cards right here. So we go ahead and give them a quick shuffle, right? And we set them up. Shuffle the Ancestry cards. After we shuffle the Ancestry cards, next we want to get the Great Hall tokens, which these are the Great Hall tokens. The back side looks like this, right? And where is, I think there's, I can't see where I put them, but there's extra. You take them all face down, you shuffle them, and then you randomly put it out on all the Great Halls. Remember, that's the Great Hall, giving us points for each Great Hall. All right, once that's done, we go ahead and set out the Gnome wheel and the Gnome tracker. Now this is the Kickstarter special Gnome tracker. Let's see, here it is. So right here's a handy dandy. I'll kind of set it like this for a second for you guys who have just the regular edition of this, right? The store edition. So this would be a bigger circular disc, right? So you go ahead and you take this out, and what you want to do is you want to put it in the starting spot, and it shows you the starting spot right there. So this goes right there. All right, so go ahead and set that there. There is a bit of setup for this game. That is definitely for sure. You're setting up a lot here. All right, so the next thing that we want to do is we want to take the desperation tokens. We want to go ahead and put out the desperation tokens. All right, once that's done, we go ahead and set up the champion decks, which we have here. This is wave 0, wave 1 and 2, and wave 3. Once we have those out, well, you want to shuffle them separately, right? I should probably said that. So each one you take out, I'm sure it's common sense, but you shuffle them. And as you can see, I live in a very dry area. So as soon as I get anything out, it wants to get all wibbly wobbly. So give each one a quick shuffle. set it out, right? Once you do that, you want to take and place the champions at the bottom. That will be the champions that you will win over at the end of each wave. So what you do is you draw from deck 1, 2, and you put the number of players plus 1. You put that many champion cards out. So right now we have 2 players, so we have 2 champion cards plus 1. What you want to do once you do that is you want to look at these champion cards, and if the champion card has a symbol or a number or a letter, I'll figure it out eventually, you go ahead and you grab the little cardboard token that represents that letter, and you go ahead and set it right there. All right, so next, sorry, I just realized I had a blister showing. Eek. All right, so next, what you want to do is you want to go ahead and set up your supply of champion tiles. That's what these are down here. These are for the champions that will come out in the 3rd wave, the last wave, and there's a special way they work. All right, so now that's all set up. It's time to go ahead. It's time to go ahead and set the gnomes up. So we got the gnomes set up over here. In this game, your troll's trying to defend that's what I kind of like about it. Your troll's trying to defend your mountain against the gnomes that are invading. Normally the gnomes are the good ones. The gnomes are the bad ones invading right there. First thing you do is you set up a pile of gnome tokens. So we have little miniatures. I have some of them on the board. They're little gnome tokens, right? But on here, you have the gnome token looks like that, right? It's a little wooden one with the gnome on one side, and there will be a number on the other side, but the miniatures have numbers that I had to put on and stick on each of them. All right, so you go ahead and you make your gnome supply. Once you have your gnome supply done, then what you want to do is you want to grab your gate cards. These are your great gate cards. Now, you want to take all of them, right? And let's say this is all of them just for argument's sake. You give them a quick shuffle, 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 and you take 3 of them and you go ahead and flip them over, right? And then what you do is you go ahead and place 1 gnome in each of those areas. Now, let's see if we can get this close enough so you can see. There's some information on this. This is the clan that explains the domain that they would spawn in. So you have the domain, right? Then it tells you some information for later on, but this gives you how many gnomes come out per wave. There's wave 1, wave 2, wave 3. It also gives you how many points you get for being the first fallen troll, right? And then how many points all the other fallen trolls get. We'll explain that here in a little bit. So you go through your 3 cards. These are obviously random, so they're different. And what you do is you pick gates and you go ahead and you put the gnome in one of those spots. So I could have put this gnome here or here. This guy could have gone here or here. There's only 1 gate right there, so they can only go there. I mean, this is all one. Oops, wrong guy. Sorry. There's only 1 gate right here, right? So you could have put him anywhere through here because this is one whole cavern. And then right here, you could put him there, here. Same thing, you got a long cavern, so on and so forth. Once you've done 3 of them, right? So how the gnome gates go is it's 2 plus an extra 1. As many players as you have plus 1. That's how you spawn the gnomes. Then you go ahead and take 1 more card and you flip it over. And in that spot, oh, it is actually exactly the same one. So you would take the swarm token. This shows you where the swarm's going to come in. And for you guys with the retail version, here's the swarm token, right? And then that is what the actual wooden token looks like. It's a bigger red one. So you just go ahead and place that wherever this card shows you. So you do the amount of players plus 1, so in this case 3, and then you flip 1 more and you put a gnome everywhere, and then you flip 1 more, and that gives you your swarm token. All right, so we'll go ahead and just set those back here. So we have them. Once you have that done, then you go ahead and set up the gate cards for the end of the wave, right? So how you go ahead and do that is you shuffle all the cards together. Once you've done this, you shuffle them all together and you place them out. Now this has a certain number, 2 to 3 players, you put 3 out. For 4 players, you put 4 out, and for 5 players, you put 5. So 2 to 3, 3 gate cards go out, right? 4 gate cards go out, and 5 gate cards go out, right? And then it tells you to keep the leftovers somewhere in an area where you can grab them. All right, so once that's done, what you want to do is you want to set up your players. Now, this is, once again, we have a whole bunch of the Kickstarter stuff over here. So let me grab the handy dandy thing so I can show you guys. So the first thing that we want to do is we want to take the player mat and all the pieces that are associated. Now I have them all here. So we have 2 layers, which for blue, they're already out on the board. Layers are these cardboard. These are going to be the same for both versions. So you take the 2 layers, you give them to the player. In this case, if you have the Kickstarter, you know that you get this deluxe thing. But you take the 2 layers, you go ahead and give them to the players. The next thing that you do is you take the Ancestry cubes. And there's 50 of them, but they're in certain colors. So here it shows us these are our different Ancestry cubes, right? And there it's cubes. Here it's, I don't know what to call it, kind of starburst. Oops. It's like that little starburst kind of symbol. You go ahead and make sure they have the 50 of those, right? The next thing that you make sure that everybody has is the 13 influence discs. In this version, there are little claws. Sorry about the lighting. I was getting a lot of glare, so I had to do the lighting like this. So you get these little claws, right? In the retail version, that's what I kept grabbing for, is the retail version, the claws look like circular discs, right? So you go ahead and get these and put them out. Make sure they have those. Next, you want to make sure that everyone has their 25 trolls and 5 champions. So these are the trolls, right? But in the regular version, they kind of have their arms down to their side. They're little wooden meeples. And then for this version, the champions look like this. They have a hammer and a shield. Ooh, sorry guys, the light's really horrible. Hammer and a shield, and then they have this base. In this version, they kind of just sit there. They're bigger. They got a little shield. They're just kind of bigger, right? Those are your champions. So you make sure everybody has all those. Like I said, this case, you already have them all put out right there in front of you. All right. Once we know everybody has everything, you give everybody a starting Ancestry card. I put these right here in this tray, so they're already there. This is your Ancestry card. So this is your starting Ancestry card. Everyone puts it out. All right. Then you go ahead and you place the score track out. Right, and you make sure these are your score track right here, and then you go ahead and place markers. I'm going to need this thing one more time. I didn't know how many times I'm going to need this. So what it says is you place one on your score track, so you go ahead and you put it at 0. For the Kickstarter, it's these barrels, right? And here, where are we? Right here, there's the blue barrel. It's just a blue disc, and then the other one is just a blue disc. But in here, let's see, we got the pink one. The Kickstarter, you have this as your disc. All right, so you have to give me a second. Hopefully it doesn't glare a lot, but I feel like I really need to get the lights a little bit more. I feel the sun's slowly going down. Let's see. Hopefully this doesn't glare a lot. There we go. When I started this, I had good light. All right. No editing videos. This is how I do it, man. It's my flavor. It's my flavor flaves. All right, so getting the first player all situated and sorted. We have those out. We have your markers out. Then you go ahead and place an influence disc on the gnome track. So you have one of each color. Right? These are little influence discs. And we put them on the 0 mark on the track. Here, let's see if I can lift the track up for you guys to see. So if you guys can see, there is no number here, then it goes 2, then 3, then 4, then 5. This has to do with honor, and there's a tripwire, but we'll go over that when we get there. All right, so you take one for each player, and you go ahead and put it in the starting area. All right, we're almost there. Once you get that done, you go ahead and you take this champion deck and you shuffle through it. And I've done this down here, but you shuffle through it, right? And each person gets 2. So you get 2, you flip them over, and out of the 2, you decide what you want to do. So I guess this would be a time, we'll just go like this, that we can kind of explain this. So you're going to choose one of these. What this means is it's a champion. So you would get a little marker once you get this card to mark your champion. And the reason you want that marker is because champions have special abilities, right? This is the name and kind of what it says. I think this is kind of like a backstory on them. But this right here, this is your influence for the different clans. And we have our clan board out here, which I didn't say you had to put out. Clan board, this happens before you put that out. So you have your clan board that's set up here. This is on the board setup, sorry. And you also have your clan tokens, right? Flip them over, shuffle them, randomly put them out. But you put this clan board out. Rewind and remember to do that with the little clan tokens shuffled up and put in random spots. All right. Anyways, this gives you your clan influence. So if you chose this guy, you would get a champion. You would get that little N to mark it so you know it's connected to this card. And then you would get 1 in the, what's the green guys called? They have a little thing where it talks about it. Moss, right? 1 influence in the Moss clan. All right. So see, there's a whole bunch of different cards that you have in here. Some don't have a champion. You get a little more influence. They all have different things that they do, right? You get 2 of these. Each player, they pick one. The one that they don't pick goes out of the game, not back in the stack. I don't know why they tell you to keep the stack out, but they do. It doesn't go back in the stack. It goes completely out of the game. So you would put it into the box and say, none shall play, or whatever you want to say. All right. So, if you get someone who has a champion with a letter, like this player down here got a champion and they got a letter. So this is what I'm talking about in the dry area. Just look at that. Look at that. And they were flat when I first put them down. So anyways, you go ahead and you have a champion. You got that. If you were someone to pull a champion, you go ahead and grab one of these. You put the little disc on them, and we have one over here, but it's because of setup, I have him out on the board because I set it up. So there's the little champion guy, see? He's already out on the board, but we'll explain how he gets there here in a second. All right, so that's all done with the player setup. This is the last part, is the layer setup. This is how the layer setup goes. You choose a first player. Where'd I put, oh, I didn't even put the token out. You choose a first player, and you go ahead and give them the hammer. Now it's a little 3D one. That's the Kickstarter. It's a cardboard one. Otherwise, you give one of the players the hammer. That is the first player. First player, what they end up doing is they pick their layer. So what they do is they find the symbol, like I told you, they pick one of them and they go ahead and find the other one and they put just their layer down at this point. You put down your layer, which is this rock looking token. Next, you go ahead and take 3 of your trolls and you put 3 trolls in each layer. After you do that, you go ahead and you place 1 extra troll next to each layer. Oh, this guy doesn't have a troll. How did I not do that? How did I do that? All right, so how the placement goes with this extra troll is it has to be in a space where there isn't a gnome. So let's look at pink here. Pink couldn't put their extra troll right here because there's a gnome in that tavern. It had to go into an empty tavern. So that's pretty much the only thing. It has to be adjacent to the layer, right? So this guy can go to any of the, well, not that one. He can go to any of these if he wanted to. This guy right here is restricted because there's a gnome there, but he can go here, he can go here. He has 2 spots he can go to. This guy could have went here, 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 and here, right? So on and so forth. So you go ahead, for each layer you place 1 gnome. Sorry, I'll bounce gnome and troll around a lot. I know, I'm sorry. 1 troll next to the layer, as long as there's no gnome. In a cavern next to the layer, as long as there's no gnome in that cavern. Now, if you have a champion, you can put your champion anywhere where you have a troll sitting. So you would go ahead and take your champion and you would pick one of those spaces and you would put the troll down right there. All right. So once the first player is done doing that, it goes to the next person, so on and so forth, until everybody's gone. Once everybody has put their layers, put their trolls down, and any champions, if they have champions, then you're ready to play the game. Now, I know it's a lot of setup, but it's worth it. It really is. So this is how the game goes. To win the game, you want to have the most influence. The mountain's going to fall, right? And what you're trying to do is get the most influence as well the mountain's falling so the clans remember you. So how you do that, how you win the game is to have the most influence overall, or the most honor. Sorry, I'm mixing them up. The most honor. This is your honor track on the outside. You want to have the most honor by the end of the third wave. You want to have the most honor. Now, there's two different wave scoring, and I'll talk about that. There's wave 1 and 2 scoring, and then wave 3 has its own scoring, and we'll talk about that. So that's how you win the game. Now, we know how to win the game. We know what's going on in the game. The gnomes are evil, and they're attacking our mountain we're trying to defend. So the gameplay has 3 phases. There's 3 waves, and then in each wave, there's 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 4 phases. So each wave has 4 phases. And how it works is the first phase is your Ancestry Phase. So you remember your Ancestry card down here. So how that works is each player gets dealt 1, 2, 3, 4 cards. We got 1, 2, 3. I knew I was going to be short. 4 cards. They get dealt 4 cards. Now what that player is going to do is they're going to flip them over. This is your first phase, is building your ancestry out. And you're going to pick cards from here to place on your starting ancestry board, right? Now, I'll explain what these symbols do. Why you want to pick them is because these are actions that you're going to be able to do on your turn. But when you pick one of the cards, to place it, it has to place over at least one card that's already there. And you can cover 2 if you wanted to. You can cover all 4 if you wanted to, but it has to cover at least one spot, right? And the other thing is you can't go further than a 6x6 grid. I know I kind of have it smashed up here, but it's just for room wise. So you can't go top to bottom 6, left to right. You can't go more than 6, right? That's an illegal placement. All right, so player, we'll just go with this to make it fast. They place one here. This player goes through theirs. They say, I don't know, this one, whoops, looks great. I'm gonna place it here just to be different. Then what happens is this player passes their cards to the left. This player right here passes their cards to the left. And then you keep going through it, right? I'm just gonna do this fast, so I'm really not thinking my way through this at all. So they've placed theirs. They're gonna place theirs. Now, the same thing, they shuffle around. Hopefully, I think I got these mixed up already. This player is gonna pass those here. This player to the left, to the left, to the left. They pick one more, right? And this player is gonna say they wanna go right here. So it just has to cover one quadrant. Those are your restrictions. Has to cover one quadrant of another card, and it can't go outside of the 6x6. We'll put this one right here. Now, after you've done this 3 times, each player is going to have 1 extra card. What they do with that extra card is they go ahead, put them together, and it says just to make a discard, a group discard pile. So I don't know, let's just say right here. My playthroughs, we haven't gotten to the group discard, but that's what it says. All right, that's the Ancestry Phase. Now, everyone's sitting there saying, well, Stephen, why do you want to do this? Well, these symbols allow you to do things. So let's go ahead and go through the symbols and what they allow you to do. Now, the first symbol we have is advance. And I still complain about this being advanced. Advance, that just means move, right? This means you can move 1. This means you can move 2, right? Let me clarify that. This means you can move 1 troll, right? This means you can move 2. There's 1s, there's 2s. So that's advance. Now the other symbol we have on here is our champions, right? And it's not called champions, it's called influence. This means they're both 1s. You can put 1 influence on any of the champions that you want, right? So we have 1 influence, we can put 1 influence on a champion. So that's influence. Now, let's see, what other symbols do we got on here? So we have two symbols right here. You can never cover these two symbols, which I think I did over here, which is bad Steven. Where did I do it? I did it somewhere. I was being a bad Steven. All right. You can never cover the elder symbol or elder sign, if it makes you happy, the elder symbol or the barrels. They can never be covered. Now they give you some extra stuff when you're playing. This gives you extra points at the end. This gives you more chances to move things on your it's not your scorecard, but kind of your placement card. I'll think about it as I'm talking. So these two you can never cover. This is your elder symbol, points at the end. This gives you more barrels, your actions, your action board. This gives you more barrels, the more barrels you have. Now this right here, this symbol is, this is your gnome symbol, right? And it means that you move the gnome track right here. All right, let's see, what symbol am I missing? I know I'm missing one. All right, here we go. This symbol right here is the last symbol. This is a wild symbol. It can represent any symbols on the board, any symbols in your ancestry. So it counts as any symbol. All right, so that's the quick run on the symbols. So we've built our ancestry. Then we want to go into the phase that's called battle. And all battle really is you take one of your actions and you go ahead and use it. So let's show this. At the beginning of your turn, you go ahead and you place this barrel at whatever wave it is. So let's say it's wave 1. And you also take desperation tokens, anything to the right. Now in wave 3, you're going to get 2, 3, 4, 5 desperation tokens if you're just right there. Now, when you're placing this barrel, you also look at your ancestry. If you have any more barrels, you can move forward. So we'll take pink here as an example. Pink would start here for wave 1, plus they have 1 barrel that gives them 1 more action, and then they would get 1 desperation token. All right, so let's go ahead and put pink right there. We'll go ahead and put them right here. And let's grab some desperation tokens. And go like this and like this. All right, they got the desperation tokens. All right, so battle is where you basically place your ancestry markers and you do whatever that action is. Now, to do this stuff, it takes 1 action. And you have 2 kinds of actions. You have a weak action, which is a single symbol. This would be a weak action. So you can take, let's say blue, they say, I'm going to do 1 weak action. It allows you to do 2 weak actions, basically. So you could do this one, which is move, and then you could do this one, which advances the gnome track, right? Now, the other way, you can spend 1 action and do 1 strong action, which means you can do 2 or more of the same thing. If we look over at pink here, they can actually move 1, 2 trolls, they can move a 3rd troll, and they can move a 4th troll, right? Because they're all connected. So strong actions, when you have multiple spaces connected. Weak action allows you to do 2 weak actions. And they always take 1. Weak action or strong action, it takes 1. Now, what these desperation tokens do for you is they add 1. So if I would have did one troll movement and 1 movement on the gnome board, I can spend these, and you're going to lose them at the end of the round, so I can spend these to do 2 advance actions. They're not advanced. What are they called? Yeah, they are advanced. 2 advance actions or move the troll on the wheel 2 spaces. Then you would get rid of these, and at the next wave, you would get more if you rate more, depending on where you land on that track. All right. So battle, let's go ahead and go through the things that you can do on battle. So we talked about the actions. So let's talk about how the symbols work. Now, as I said, blue, let's say they go ahead and do 1 strong action. They would take 2 of these. They'd go ahead and set them on the board. like that. And they can move 2 of their trolls from any spot, right? They could move these 2 trolls right here to over here. They all have to be the same troll. You can't divide it up. They can move these 2 trolls from there to there. They have 1 troll here. That would be kind of wasting the action. So that is the movement. What stops you from moving is if the area has no trolls left in it. So a troll can come out here to here, right? But you can't move a troll into this area. Well, you can move a troll into any area that's connected by trolls. So we have 2 trolls here. So we can move actually 2 trolls from here if we wanted and move them out here, right? But it's because we have 2 troll actions. Now, if we had 2 trolls right here, right? And it doesn't matter, trolls don't fight trolls, they just kind of overrun. But if we had 2 trolls right there, we could take 2 trolls from here, or let's say the troll goes right here. We can go 2 trolls from here and go all the way to here with that action because it's moving trolls. So you move trolls through occupied areas where you have other trolls. All right, the next thing that we can do is we can fight gnomes, and that's kind of part of the movement action. So how it works is when a troll goes into a space, they automatically fight the gnome there. How they beat the gnome is you flip the gnome over and you look. Well, this gnome has 2, right? We moved only 1 troll. That's a strength of 1. So the troll loses. If the troll loses, right, you've been repelled, right? You would take the trolls and you would move them back to the lair. They've been defeated, right? And then the gnome track moves up 1. Whoever the player is, they don't get the abilities from the gnome track. It just moves up. It's to kind of set that, move the track forward so you can hit tripwires and stuff like that. Now, if, let's say, for whatever reason, we had 2 guys and they moved in, or let's say we can go with, they have that strong action, right? They have this 4 strong action. Let's say they went ahead and advanced 4. So we could take these 3 and put them all in here. Let's say that happened, and there's a 2. So what you would do from there is you would get honor at the number that you have on here. So this player would have gotten 2 honor because they beat a troll that has 2 honor, right? You also gain 1 influence. So pink would gain 1 influence in the cavern where those trolls are. So they're in moss. So you'd go over here and you'd put 1 influence down like that, right? And then you would put the defeated gnome right here. And actually the last thing you do is move the advanced tracker and you put the defeated gnome right there. And that comes into play if you hit the tripwire and the gnomes come rushing in on you, right? All right, there's an incursion that happens. All right, so that's fighting. Fighting is just a number of trolls versus the number on the gnome. Trolls get beat, they go back to the lair, right? If trolls win, they get honor equal to the gnome. They get 1 point for, basically it's a point for overrunning or, what's it called? It's not overrunning, is it? Seizing control of a cavern. I'm going to call it tavern sometimes too, a cavern. To seize control of a cavern, there has to be someone in there, either gnomes or trolls. In this instance, if these 2 blues moved into this cavern with this pink, they seize control. Because they seize control, right, they get influence. They would get influence on that track. So blue would get an influence. So it's seizing control. But to seize control, there has to be either trolls in the area or gnomes. All right, so the next thing that you do is influence, right? So if it's the first time, let's say someone wants to do influence. So we'll go back to blue just because they're close. On blue's action, they want to influence. What they would do is they'd pick one of these cards. If it's the first time they're gaining influence, they would put that amount. So this is 1 influence, right? They would put that amount of influence right here. Now, if blue had already had someone here, so let's say they're doing a weak action, So they can't do another influence on a weak action. So it wouldn't work that way. But if they already had someone here, let's say they already had influence and they decide to do another influence in a later round, influence, they go ahead and move this up 1. Now, something to think about. Where's the pink marker? If pink is already here, all right, let's say pink's at 2, blue moves again, they do another influence. Pink is considered the leader on this board. The bottom person's considered the leader. And this goes for anything else in the game. On the track over here, whoever's the bottom one, they're considered the leader. So let's say pink is right here, and by the end of the game, oops, blue lands right here, right? Pink is still the leader. For blue to be the leader, they have to pass pink. All right, so influence. First time that you're there, you go ahead and you put it in the first spot. If you want to influence a track where you're there, you just move your guy forward and you set him on top of any other influence that's there. And this is to gain champions at the right before, it's the end of the wave, but it's right before wave scoring. All right. So, one thing that I missed when I was doing this. So when you first get your 0 champions, right? Besides putting that card on, you have influence. And what that means is what you do with that is you go ahead and you put your influence on that track. So blue actually would have been on the track for 1 all the way at the beginning when he got this card. And then pink would be in purple for 2 because they got the influence right in the beginning because you get the influence off the card. All right. Back to the things you can do on your turn during battle. The other thing that you could do on your turn during battle is you can advance the gnome track. So how does that work? So if you remember, this is the advance the gnome track. So blue on their turn could say, I'm doing an advance action and I'm going to advance the gnome track 3, right? He's got 2 and then 1. So what that means is if he started right here, he would go 1, 2, 3. That means he gets 3 influence because he has 3 actions, if you want to look at it. It took 1 action to do it, but he moved 3, however you want to look at it that way. So he would get 3 influence on whatever, 3 influence on whatever card he wants because it's the influence side. So we'll go back to this first troll, and he'll go ahead and slap his 3 influence down. If he already had influence on here, he would move up 3. Now, what he has done here is there's 2 tripwires on here. And I showed you guys before, I'll show you again. This is the incursion tripwire, right? And then this is the honor tripwire, the boost to honor tripwire. So if blue would have done that and gone there, there's gonna be an incursion. Now this is how an incursion works. Because blue player in this instance decided to kick the incursion off, he is going to go ahead and pick where the incursion marker goes. He can pick somewhere near him, right? He picks a symbol, or he can pick somewhere closer to an enemy, but he can only move 2 away. He can only go 2 in any direction. Once that happens, then you have some trolls come out and things like that. So let's say he moves right here. If he wants to, we have 2 gates. That's where trolls come in. Trolls always run on the easiest path to follow. Now, how an incursion works, oops, I don't know why I grabbed that. How it works is you go ahead and 2 trolls are going to go into the incursion, plus how many ever are here. Every 2 trolls that have been put here, remember when you defeat trolls, you put them here? For every 2, it's 1. So I think the example they give in the book is there's 3 trolls. So if there's 3 trolls, you would put 2 trolls are going to do an incursion plus 2 more, right? Because you round up. There's 3 there and you round up. So there'd be 4 trolls. Once you grab your incursion trolls, you take these trolls, put them back in the stock, and then one by one, the trolls do their incursion. Now, how trolls work is they go path of least resistance, right? So this troll is going to go in, and he is going to go in, and he doesn't want to go where a troll is. He wants to go to empty spaces. So let's say this troll, for whatever reason's over here. This troll would go in right here, right? The next troll would be able, just like the troll, gnomes, the gnome will go in. The first one go in here. Let's say he's there. First gnome would go in here. The next gnome could follow that path to here. The next gnome can follow it to here. They're not going to go into wherever a troll is unless, let's go ahead and clean this up. Let's say we've gone through a handful of movements. We have a troll here. We have a troll here. For whatever reason, he wouldn't move there. It'd kind of be something more like this. They have it all surrounded. So what the gnome is going to do is they're going to go into where a troll's at. If a gnome goes into where a troll is, it's a wipe, right? They both go out. The troll gets no points for that gnome getting wiped out on the incursion, right? But what they're going to do at that point is they're going to go through what is called a fallen trolls, right? So what you get when you have your fallen troll after an incursion is you have on the card how many points you get. So the troll, if there's a fallen troll, right, you remove it from the cavern, right? If it is a regular troll, it goes back to your supply, right? If it happens to be one of the champions, it can go back to your lair, right? So let's go back to this. Let's for argument's sake say this is kind of how it looks over here, right? So this gnome's going to go in. Same here. They're going to go past. They're not going to go to that first space. They're going to go to the first empty space. So they wouldn't go there. They would go here or here or here, right, or here. And when there's equal amount, you can pick. So let's say that gnome goes there. It's going to take out one of these trolls. The gnome just disappears. Oh, I think I already did that. You put the gnome over there. You're basically preventing him from doing the incursion. If it's a regular troll, it goes to your supply. If you have a champion, he can go back to your lair. And you can choose how that works. Does he go to the supply or does he go to the lair? Now, you have scoring. You have it on these cards, but you also have it on your board. So let's go ahead and look at this. I mean, this helps you with the waves, but it's the same thing that's on your board. So we would look on this to score the incursion. We're in, whoops, there we go. We're in wave 1, right? The first fallen troll gives that troll clan 3 honor. So let's say the first guy comes in, he falls, he goes back to the lair. Blue would get 3 honor for that, all right? Now, the next troll that comes in, still it's the same thing, would pick one of these spots. Goes in here, right? The current player gets to choose where they go in. So this troll would go over there, and this guy would disappear, right? But after that, it shows you right here, everyone after the first one gets 2. So then blue would get 2 more, 1, 2. They would get 2 more honor for that. Now the rest of the trolls, they're going to go path of least resistance, right? They're not going to go here because someone's there, so they could go right here. They can go right there, right? They wouldn't want to go there because there's a troll. That's how the incursion works once you pass that line. All right. So now that we have all that down, we've gone through everything that you can do off your ancestry, right? The next thing that we have going on is you have the end of the wave, right? Oh, you know what? Let's do this before we do end of the wave. What do all these symbols mean? So it seems kind of basic, but there's one extra one. So this is honor. You would get how many ever honor that you moved to there. So if you started here and you went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, you would get 6 honor, plus any bonuses that you have right here where your marker has gone. So if you went 6 all the way around to there, you can go here. The one thing you can't do when you're moving around this track is you can't pass wherever you started. So if you started here, you can't go all the way around and then land right here. So there's honor. Oh, we didn't do that one. I knew there was a symbol we missed. There's bolster, right? So the blue symbol is bolster. What does bolster mean? So bolster means that you get to add that many trolls to any cavern or layer that you have. So over here, they have that, they can do a weak action. They can do a bolster for 1 if they wanted. That means they could take 1 troll and set it anywhere else where they have a troll. You can put it in your layer if you want. You can put it here, go here, here, here. In this example, you can go any of those spaces. That's bolster. Now, back to the wheel. Bolster on the wheel would be how many you went to move there. If you started at 1, right? Let's say we started right here and we paid 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to get there. You can bolster 5 troops out on the board. It's one area, but you put that many trolls down. Now that's influence. We already talked about that one. This one, what it means is that you can move that amount, X amount of trolls from that cavern to any other cavern in the game. So you can move, you can't move layer ones, but you can move the enemy's trolls, you can move your own trolls, and you move the amount of spaces that it took you to get there. So if it took you 3, then troll 3. All right, so this is a long how to play video. All right, so what happens next? Once you've picked one of those actions, the next person goes and you keep picking actions till you get to the end. Now, another thing you could do to bolster whatever value you have here is you can spend one extra action to bolster. So if you advanced 1, you can spend one extra one to advance 2, right? To move 2 trolls somewhere. Once everybody is out of moves that they can do, you go ahead and you put everything down. Let's go ahead just for this, put someone out so we have things to clean up. All right, once that happens, then we go into end of wave. How end of wave works is trolls entrench. Any trolls that are already out on the board, you add an extra, any gnome that's out on the board, you add an extra gnome. So all these guys get an extra gnome, right? And then after that happens, you go ahead and you do the invasions. I think I was calling them incursions, but you do the invasions, right? And you do that based on all these cards. So you have these cards, just kind of like the setup. It tells you what area they go in, right? So this would be an invasion right here from this gate. It tells you how many are going to invade. In this case, it'd be 2 because it's wave 1, right? And then it says your points down there that happen. So what would happen here? First one comes in. There is a pink troll there. That troll gets knocked out. This gnome goes over here, right? So that's just how it works. The next gnome would go in and move into that spot. Once that card's resolved, you go ahead and go to the next card, which is the gate right here. You start spawning gnomes, just like we were talking about with the incursion earlier. And then the third card, whoops, I always want to do it that way. Third card tells you the first area, and you go ahead and fill in there. If you can't look over at the card, you have the chart right here to tell you how many gnomes each wave, how many points you get, things like that. So the one thing we forgot was when pink went out, he would have gotten, because it's wave 1, he would have gotten 3 honor. Pink would have moved up 3 honor for going out there because the gnome came in. So you go through all that. Once you resolve the whole wave, the end of the wave, so you go through that many cards, right? You go ahead and award champions, right? If anybody has a champion, they go ahead and take that champion card, right? They take their marker, champion card goes to them. And you would want to set them out so you can read all the things that you can do, but champion card goes there. They get influence based on that champion. So blue would get, what is that? Snake people? I think that's mud. Blue would get 2 in the mud. 2 in the mud. What a dud, right? So as you can see, you have blue that has 2 in the mud. This symbol means that it's an instant action. So you have your stuff that you can do down here instantly when you get this card. Another symbol that you have is this one. This is an ongoing, you can do every wave, but you would have to put one of your markers on there to show, actually it's not that marker, sorry. It's one of these markers. You go ahead and put it there at the beginning of the wave to show that you've done that at once. So this guy can do it once, he can do it 3 times. The other thing is, if you get a champion like this, let's say that pink gets a champion, they go ahead and take one of their champions, they put the matching little disc with that champion so you know what champion's what, and they place the champion somewhere where they have a troll, right? So you go ahead and put out that champion. All right, we're almost to the end, guys, I promise. So once the champions are awarded. There are one champions that I'll show you because we were talking about once you get the champion, you do the honor. If you have an instant, you do the instant. And if you have an actual champion miniature, you go ahead and put them out on the board. Now, there is one thing here. Where did it go? I know they're there. There it is. There's that symbol. That is a wild symbol for influence. It tells you get 2 influence in whatever board that you choose. So that's wild. All the rest match up with one of the boards on the influence track over here. All right. So everyone has gotten their champions. Then you go ahead and go into the scoring of that wave. So how this works is you go ahead and you look at your domains and you score this way. In a domain, the first tavern in a domain for, let me see, you got it in the back of the book so you can remember, so you don't just have to remember what I tell you. Ooh, knocked the camera all crazy right there. All right, this is what I'm doing, trying to go fast. So in the back, it'll tell you how to score. So your first tavern that you get, you score 6. Then after that, every other one that you have in there, you score 2. So right here, let's go ahead and score blue up for the end of the first wave. And wave 1 and 2 score the same way. All right, so blue has 1 right here. There's 6 honor plus 2 more honor plus 2 more honor. So they have a total of 10. 6, 2, 2. So they would have a total of 10 honor, which would bring them to 15, right? But for every cavern that you have trolls in, or every domain you have trolls in, for each cavern that has gnomes in, you lose that many points. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4 points. That would bring blue back down to 11. Now pink blue's got another 6 right here we didn't notice. So let's go ahead and bump blue back up another 6. So they would finish out at 17 because they have 6 plus 2 plus 2 minus 1, 2, 3, 4. So right here they have 10 minus 4 plus another 6 minus 1, 2, so 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So how you score in the wave is the first in a domain, remember these are domains by color, the first tavern that they have, they get 6. Every tavern after that, they get 2 more, right, that they have control in. And remember, if there's blues in here like this, blue has control of that tavern, not pink. All right, so 6 for the first tavern you have control in, 2 for every tavern after that. And then you go ahead and subtract 1 for each gnome that's in that domain, right, with that tavern. So you would subtract 2 from there. Now that's the same way that you score wave 1 and wave 2. Now wave 3 is a little bit different. So wave 3, there's a couple things you score. First, you look at Great Halls, right? And you see how many people are around Great Halls. In this instance that we have going on here, blue would get 4 points for this Great Hall, except for they share it actually with gnomes. So you would split it in half. So they would get 2 points because gnomes eat up 2 of those points. Pink is next to this one. They own 1 tavern. Blue owns 1 tavern. They would split the 12 points here. They'd both get 6. So first you do Great Halls. It's whoever controls the most caverns around that hall. Gnomes count, and you divide the points evenly, as even as possible, right? In any remainders, you throw away. So if there were, well, 3 would work. If there were 5, right, some number that you can't divide evenly, you would divide it as even as you can, and the remainders you would get rid of. Next, you go ahead and look at any elder signs that you have, and there's a chart. Here we go. There's a chart in the book right here. It'll tell you, depending on how many elder signs you have, how many points that you get. All right. And then the last thing that you do is you score your points on this track. So in this case, there's only first and second place for points. But remember what I said, whoever is the bottom, let's give us this example, is the leader in that clan. So in this one, you get 9 points. Second place gets 5. This place you get 7 points. There's no one else. Here you get 11 points. But you score your clan tracks, right? Clan votes. I keep calling this clan track, clan votes. And so that's how you score the third wave. And at the end, it's whoever has the most honor here wins the game. So if there is a tie, it's the, why can't I find the tie? They did say a tie on here, but I can't remember. Oh my gosh. I think it's whoever owns the most caverns. It'd be nice if you owned taverns, but caverns. All right. So one last thing I kind of jumped to 3. So let's say we're back at wave 1. We've scored everything. Once that's over, then you do the last phase of that wave, and that is the refresh phase. So a refresh phase, what do we do in refresh, right? We collect up all the gate cards. So we go ahead and take all these like this. We put them in here and we give them a quick shuffle. So we take the gate cards and we give them a quick shuffle. All right. And we go ahead and set out the amount of gates, amount of players plus 1 for the gate. And then you put the extras right here. So we take care of the gate cards. The next thing that we do is we refresh the champion display. So any champions not taken, go out of the game. I'm just going to put this here for cleanup. You go ahead and throw them out of the game. And you take, if this was going from wave 1 to wave 2, you go ahead and put champions out again. And it's the number of players plus 1, right? And in this case, they all have letters. So you would sit here and you would find all the letters. I don't know if I can do it quick enough. There's that one. There's that one, and there's that one. You go ahead and give the letters. So this is wave 2, it's the champions. All right, once you have the champion display set up, each player grabs all their cubes back. So each player, all the ancestry cubes, or in this case, it's the starbursts, you go ahead and take them back, right? All of them that you have out on your ancestry. And then the last thing is the hammer switches to the next player. Now, the one thing that I did want to say, I got a little confused there, is because talking about scoring on wave 3. If this was wave 3, champions have a different marker for the champion. They have these looking markers, right? And the reason they're like that is because and they'll tell you what to do. They tell you instantly what to do once you get that champion. And you put it on strongholds. The only restriction is, from what I can tell, it always says empty, not stronghold, great hall. They go on empty great halls. And what that means is, let's say one player's already put someone there. So this player has a C. He has to pick a stronghold that doesn't have that on there, and then certain things happen. All right. And with champions, the other thing is, if there's other people on here, on this thing, if let's get close enough so you guys can see, there's these yellow lines, right? So let's say we have blue on here, and let's see if we can grab it. We have a blue and a pink on here, right? So pink wins because they're the highest. Blue, and the same thing, if pink's on top, blue would win. If blue is on top over here, right? Let's say blue's on top here. Pink is the leader on this, but blue gets 1, 2, 3. The amount of honor of the yellow lines that they pass. That's your second thing. So just keep that in mind. All right. So once it's been reset, right? You have everything reset. You got all your stuff back. It's clean. You're ready to go. From wave 1, you go to wave 2. Wave 2, you go to wave 3. And if you're in wave 3, you go ahead and score. And I feel like I'm completely out of breath now. But that is how you play Fall of the Mountain King, right? From Burnt Island Games. Took a long time to kind of walk through this. I hope you guys enjoyed. I'm Steven with Cardboard Coalition. I'll catch you in the next one. Bye.